Hello, dear friends. Today let's make a chocolate cake. First, prepare flour, cocoa powder, baking powder, salt, eggs, butter, and other ingredients. Mix them together and knead them into a fine dough. Next, let the dough rise until it becomes fluffy and soft. Then scoop the cake batter into a baking pan and add the pre-made stuff. Finally, when the sweet cake comes out of the oven, exuding its tempting aroma, everyone gathers around to enjoy it together. The joy in their hearts is hard to express in words. Come and try making your own Neville. Goddard often reminded his listeners that the greatest dependency a person can develop is not on circumstances, people, or outer authorities, but on the power within themselves. To learn to depend on yourself is to recognize that your imagination is not a weak, idle faculty but the creative force of your life. When you truly grasp this, you stop waiting for permission, signs, or reassurance from the world, and you begin to move from an inner certainty that shapes your outer experience. Most people are trained from an early age to look outside themselves for validation and direction. They depend on others to tell them who they are, what is possible, and when the time is right to act. Neville challenged this habit by pointing directly to the inner I am as the source of all creation. When you depend on yourself, you are trusting that your assumption of being is enough. You no longer ask, can this happen for me? You quietly assume this is happening and allow life to rearrange itself around that inner decision. To depend on yourself does not mean isolating yourself from others or rejecting help when it appears. It means that your faith is no longer borrowed. You are not leaning on another person's belief, another teacher's approval, or another method's promise. You are relying on your own awareness of being. Neville taught that imagination, when felt as real, is the act of God in man. When you accept this, you stop giving your power away to outer events and start living from the inside out. Many people struggle because they constantly check the world to see if their imaginal act is working. This habit reveals dependence on appearances. Neville warned that appearances are only the echo of past assumptions. To depend on yourself is to remain loyal to your inner vision even when the outer world seems to contradict it. You do not fight the evidence. You simply refuse to let it define you. You return again and again to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, knowing that persistence in assumption hardens into fact. Self-dependence also requires responsibility. If your inner state creates your outer world, then blaming others or circumstances becomes meaningless. Neville did not present this as a burden but as freedom. When you realize that you are the operant power, you are no longer a victim of life. You are a participant, consciously choosing the state you occupy. From that state, actio,